Thank you so much for that introduction. And it's a pleasure to be with you, President Manuel, Provost Ganem, and Deans Miller, Murphy, and Green Rogers. It's also a pleasure to be with the faculty, the Board of Trustees, distinguished guests, family, friends, and of course, the class of 2026. I'd also like to thank my friend and colleague, faculty member Martha Irvine, who suggested I join you today. And a shout out to a friend and colleague, Leona Towner, who also graduates today. You know, it is such an honor to be able to celebrate this day with you because education is so precious. And what's so joyful about the life we live, whether it's short or long, is that there is always something new to learn. And I know you say, Corley, we just went through 4 years of that learning thing. Let us party for the day. But I'm sure there was plenty of party time before today. You know, there are so many teachers in my family. My mother was one. She taught in elementary school, high school, and at my alma mater during a few of my college years. Well, she worked on a graduate degree. Now, that did have some certain advantages, especially when it came to tuition. But my mother knew how special this moment, this graduation, this milestone is for students and for those who have come to celebrate your achievement. So, in honor of Georgia B. Corley, I'd like you graduates to turn to your seatmates left and right and say, "We made it." And to those in the audience, parents, guardians, relatives, and friends, turn to your seatmates left and right and say, "They made it." You know, as children, we are often asked, what do you want to be when you grow up? Can you remember what you used to say? It may be much different than when you were 5 or 6 years old, maybe even different from your high school years, but this university has definitely helped shape that answer. DePaul's dedicated professors, faculty, and staff have given you the tools and helped you build a foundation. Let's applaud them. Now, you have the capacity to become a great teacher or a counselor, a fabulous actor or stage manager, an insightful public relations professional shaping information for organizations and others, or an award-winning journalist writing, researching, broadcasting impactful stories. Now, your disciplines of education, communication, and theater are such important keys to life. They are the disciplines where we come to know each other, where we learn about each other and about different cultures. You shape minds and character. You are the truth tellers, the storytellers who investigate, educate, and inspire. Now, as a former speech and theater arts major, a broadcast journalist, and a performer, I would say that you have chosen the top 3 disciplines that make our world go round. Now, I know that people with other majors will quibble and try to say otherwise. You just hold your head high and say, "No, no, no, I have spoken." Yes, be confident, not cocky, just confident. Now, this year we celebrate the semi-quincentennial, the 250th year of America as a nation, a time when we recognize the signing of the Declaration of Independence, a time when we celebrate the history of this country. And there have been marvelous occasions of history during your tenure here. For instance, The deadly and dangerous COVID-19 pandemic became much less of a threat while you were here. We got to witness moon joy this year as the Artemis II astronauts broke the record for the farthest spaceflight by humans as they traveled around the moon. 4 alumni Blue Demons won a Pulitzer Prize for coverage of immigration enforcement. And most of you sitting here conquered traveling on the L's, red and brown lines. And you even found your way back from Kelly's Pub. You know, of course, you have witnessed strife and protests. The ongoing battles and events over immigration and deportations have been so pertinent to the mission of your university since it was founded to provide access to higher education for underserved immigrant communities in Chicago. And we have seen communities in this city continue to struggle with poverty, lack of housing, and more, all problems that your disciplines will address in different ways. Now, what many of you have learned during your time at DePaul, and what will help carry you through your life, is an ability to be resilient. U.S. Senator and Reverend Dr. Raphael Warnock likes to say that success is not linear. Success is not linear. You can acquire many things. You can achieve, but you can also fail, sometimes through no fault of your own. Just like there are highs in life, there are lows, and you can expect that. What's important to learn and keep in mind is what's really important to you, and to remember during any downtime that you can get up, you can be resilient, even in the hardest of times. For many years before I became a bureau chief and editor at NPR, I traveled through much of the United States as a national correspondent, and I covered all types of stories: political stories about Chicago elections or presidential races, stories about women in prison, cultural stories about the work of artists like quilt maker Bisa Butler and poet Gwendolyn Brooks. I also covered plenty of disasters and tragedies, tornadoes, floods, and their aftermath. Now, just over 20 years ago, around the time many of you were born, I was part of a team of NPR correspondents covering the epic damage caused by Hurricane Katrina. Now, that storm blasted through the Gulf Coast. Massive winds and a faulty levee system sent a huge flood of water tearing through New Orleans and other parts of Louisiana and Mississippi. The National Hurricane Center says nearly 1,400 people died. There was massive property loss, with so many areas left bleak and abandoned. It is that type of event, though, where you learn about resilience. You also learn about cruelty, but more often than not, you learn how people turn to help each other in moments of deep stress. I traveled alone in the debris of the lower Ninth Ward in New Orleans. It was eerie sometimes, but I found one man that I ended up calling the soldier of the lower Ninth Ward. He was rebuilding his house. It looked pristine and so out of place, surrounded by smashed, waterlogged structures, destruction just all around. But he had a boat, and he told me his story about trying to save his neighbors, about fishing people out of high waters, crying as he told me about the elderly neighbor he loved who he wasn't able to save. Still, this soldier was resilient, refusing to back down, rebuilding his home. And I found others who had lost everything, but who carried on. Now, my hope is that you never have to go through anything like that, but that you remember you can be resilient, whatever obstacle you may face. The other thing that's important to remember is that there are always people who are willing to help. You have an amazing network of alumni. So don't be shy about reaching out to people who you think might make a good mentor or give just the right advice, whether it's a person connected to this school, your place of employment, or elsewhere. And if someone says no, just ask somebody else. Take advantage of what's available. Be part of a community or affinity group. Too often, that's ignored. Now, as a former trustee of my alma mater, I want to talk to you about paying it forward. And I found out that that's also part of DePaul's mission. We graduates, we have a responsibility. The schools that help us move forward will do the same with other students. And you will someday receive an email or a phone call asking you for a donation. Now, I know you're saying, I can't believe she's talking to me about donating right now. Cheryl, do you know how much money we paid? I do, indeed. I looked at the numbers. But I'm just saying, you may not know their names, but someone did the same for you. And paying it forward is not always about money. It's about taking the time to become a mentor, a tutor, helping someone reach an achievement that they might not have known was possible, being a part of a collective so together you can make change. You know, for many years, I covered one man who did make change, and paying it forward. Those were both his life's mission. A giant in the civil rights movement who made Chicago his home. The Reverend Jesse L. Jackson died earlier this year. He had two famous slogans that are so appropriate for today. You may know them. One is "Keep Hope Alive," and the other is a chant of affirmation that he would have people repeat, "I am somebody." Now, as most of you get ready to move that tassel on your graduation cap from the right to the other side, repeat after me. I am somebody. Now turn to your seatmates and repeat after me. You are somebody. DePaul graduates class of 2026, you have persevered. You have studied, you have piled up the credits that brought you to this day. You have made a mark. You are somebody. And as you get ready now to enter another phase of life, keep hope alive because there is so much more to come. Thank you so much for having me, and congratulations once again.